everybody. Jeff Antoniuk here from Jazzwire. Thank you so much for tuning in to the guided listening today. Today, one of my favorite albums. I haven't listened to it in so long, but oh my gosh. This is Oscar Peterson Trio Plus One. The plus one is Clark Terry, the great trumpet player. And this is absolutely on the list of most swinging, most happy, most awesome albums of all time, recorded in 1964. So the Oscar Peterson Trio is, of course, Ray Brown on drums, Ray Brown on bass, Ed Thigpen on drums, Oscar Peterson, my countryman, on piano. Oscar's from Montreal. I'm from Edmonton, Canada. And my countryman, Clark Terry, I'm also American, Clark Terry on trumpet, one of the absolute all-time greats. And he should be mentioned every time someone says Miles Davis or Freddie Hubbard or Roy Hargrove or whomever. We need to have Clark Terry in there. So you're going to hear about that in just a second. And I want to let you know, so right now it's very end of May 2025. I know people are watching this months and years into the future, maybe even into the past. I don't know how that works. But we have our 3 summer summits coming up. They are starting to get booked up. We're totally booked up for many spots in the DC summit, but drop us a line and we'll see if we can fit you in depending on the instrument you play. The Minneapolis Summit in mid-July, the Canadian Summit late June. We still have spots for each instrument, but again, we're getting pretty close to getting covered for those. So would really love the opportunity to work with you. And what a joy it is to play jazz 3, 4, 5 days in a row and to interact with people your age. These are built for adult musicians. We have some college kids join us, some high school kids, but it's 99% adults. So I really hope this is something you'll consider. All right, let's jump in and check this out. So you're going to hear Clark Terry playing with the plunger mute. So if you go to your bathroom, if you go to the toilet, back there behind there, you may find a plunger, like literally a toilet plunger. You take the stick off the end, you have that little rubber plunger. That's what we're hearing, that plunger covering the bell. And when it's totally covered, it has one sound. When it's totally open, it sounds like the trumpet. When it's 90% covered, it's totally different than when it's 80% covered, the bell, the plunger on the bell. 50% versus 10%. It's so different. And technique of people who really know how to play the plunger, it sounds so vocal. Clark was absolutely one of the all-time heavyweight GOAT champions of the plunger. Let's check it out. This is called Blues for Smedley. Not sure who Smedley is, but that's what we got here. Blues for Smedley. Oh. Woo. Clark Terry on that plunger. Ow. So right away, this lovely call and response melody, right? Oscar plays something, Clark responds. And now it flips around where Clark is doing the call and Oscar's doing the response. Pretty slick. Listen to the plunger. You've heard that sound before. Maybe you weren't sure what it was. That's what it is. Regular trumpet or cornet, toilet plunger. Woo! Man, that is so swinging. And I'm talking about like Ed Thigpen and Ray Brown on the bass, but then how Oscar is comping and Clark Terry's playing, how he's laying in the time. So really dramatic, right? All those screams and hollers, fantastic. Repeated notes, changing the timbre. That was 4 measures of one note. Into some of the most killing bebop you've ever heard. Into some of the most melodic moments you've ever heard. Into some of the greasiest moments you've ever heard. And again, nice, beautiful melodic moment there. all kinds of language we should be learning as players. Listen to Ray right there, how he, we have to stop, we got to go back to that. The bass at the beginning of Oscar's solo. So he plays the same line 4 times in a row there. And the bass has such a foundational role. It's a bunch of quarter notes with rhythmic and, ornaments on it, but it's mostly quarter notes. And like, what can a bass player possibly do to change things up? We can be in a 2 feel, we can be in a 4 feel. So check out this moment. So here's, I think, the end of Clark's solo. Right, and then he changes into the next harmony. Like just that moment, genius. And how sparse Oscar starts. Interesting, Ed Thigpen started doing the cross stick thing and then went away from it. But we're hearing, so he's improvising more with it than using it as a groove element. Lots of repetition. Whew. Interesting how the cross stick, every once in a while he'll put it in there on that big beat 4. A 1, 2, 3, ah. And how Ed Thigpen has this big band drummer element to what he's doing, but it's so subtly done. How he's filling it, playing fills, doing little hits and kicks as if he's helping the trombones and trumpets, but he's doing it in a subtle way that makes sense with a trio. So most of the great trio drummers have sort of that big band orchestration element in their playing. Lovely motivic melodic moment there in the bass solo. And a great combination again of melodic singable moments, great bebop lines, bluesy elements, right? Listen to the comping. It sounds like a big band. Those high hits with the octaves and then coming down being the trombone section, and the high hits that might be the saxophones or the trumpets. Melodic fill. But how many times has Oscar done that in this bass solo? Once or twice? So he knows, he has a good sense of when we need a fill like that. And the answer is almost never, but he finds the right place. Woo! And the band just immediately in 8th gear, right? Part of that was Ed Thigpen was on brushes for the bass solo, immediately went to sticks to help bring the energy up. So much of that one note thing, right? Boo-da-boo-da-boo-da. We've heard that lick 4 or 5 times in this solo already. I love it every time. Repeat yourself. That has to be the 15th time we've heard repeated notes like that. Are you bored of it? I'm not bored of it. It is so swinging. Our melody out. And we're in a 2 feel now, right? So I was talking about, what can the bass player do to shift things up? Doom, 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 doom. So So mostly 1 and 3 in the bass. That's a great thing to be listening for anytime you're listening for jazz. Is the bass playing in 2 or in 4, walking in 4? This is the second time through the melody. Here's our little ending. All right, so that was a cool tag on the blues. So I've played the blues 20, 40,000 times, and never once, I don't think, has that happened. So that was something composed on the end. They absolutely had to organize it. It was sort of a classic chord progression, but it's not typically associated with the blues. So that was a neat coda that they obviously arranged. It was part of the song. If they had it written out, it was on the page, or they definitely talked about it. But again, that was an atypical thing to do, but a wonderful ending. So many blues, when I say so many, like the 20 or 40,000 that I played, mostly we end at the end of the blues. The blues is supposed to be pretty straightforward, something that we can sort of fake or put together on the spot. So they went a little deeper than that here. Oh my gosh. So just the feel, the Oscar Peterson trio, peerless, and every once in a while you hear goofy arguments about, they weren't, so swinging or it's just ridiculous to say something like that, whether this is your cup of tea or not. If this is not your cup of tea, I don't think you like tea, for one, but whatever. But there's so much joy and happiness. It is swinging so hard. It just brings a smile to the face. So this is what music and jazz is all about, I think. And, it's interesting that this is a blues. What is the blues? The blues is, it's a musical form, but we're sad we have the blues, right? That's the history, the African-American history of the blues. And, we don't have to get in where all that came in from field haulers and spirituals and work songs. And, it gets codified into the blues, all of that kind of stuff. So why is the blues happy? That doesn't make sense, especially given the history of African Americans in this country and everything that was gone through, right? And continues. Why is the blues happy? Well, so there's this understanding in that culture and plenty of other cultures around the world that when you moan and when you complain and commiserate and share and get a community around you and support each other, things get easier, things get a little lighter. And before you know it, maybe there's a joke or a little smile or something like that. And that's the tradition of the blues. So yes, we can have, the sort of dark and heavy blues, but so often the blues has this lightness to it that, there's more beneath that for sure, emotionally and historically and everything else. But it's part of the music. So it's kind of cool to realize that as musicians, we have techniques where I can create that heavy, mournful sound. I know the scales and the melodies and the vibe and the feel to conjure up to do that. Or to get, this was pretty happy sounding, right? And there are ways that we know to get in that direction too. So it's a pretty fascinating combination of absolute technique and music theory and sociology and history and everything else. Fantastic stuff. So hope you enjoyed that one. Wonderful. And of course, I hope I'm going to be like everything I just mentioned and talked about. I love sharing this with people and how teaching you how to be able to get these different emotions and ideas out of your instrument, all instruments, of course. So I hope I'll have a chance to work with you at the summit this summer, the 3 summits in Edmonton, the Twin Cities, and here in DC. All right, have a great week, everybody.